Hi there folks, welcome back to Rich Reviews. So the latest film I want to get to you guys to right now is the latest from Morgan Neville, who directed the Oscar-winning documentary 20 Feet from Stardom and Best of Endings about the debate between William M. Beckley and Gore Vidal. And now he's back with a new one called Won't You Be My Neighbor, and this is the documentary about Fred Rogers, about, yes, friendly Fred Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And this, quite frankly, is a surefire contender for the best film of the year. This film, wow, just touches you all in the right places. There probably won't be a dry eye in the house once this film is done, by the way, because quite frankly, the opening shot of this is him opening up the trolley here. Basically, is interviewed by a whole bunch of people who knew Fred Rogers, archival footage that, quite frankly, some of it is quite rare because it opens up with him playing on a piano. And Fred Rogers, for anyone who didn't really know Fred Rogers all that well, he originally wanted to be in the seminary. Then he got home, he found himself watching TV, and he come to realize he's horrified by what he's seeing on TV, because quite frankly, what he's seeing on TV is basically violence or kiddie violence or slapstick comedy that doesn't really educate the children to what they think they need to do. He also goes back to school again and gets education and educational therapy for children. And then he goes to work at a television station. He eventually goes and starts working with puppets, and this is where the Daniel Striped Tiger comes into play, and how one of his sons basically said early on in his life, Daniel Striped Tiger was his sort of alter ego. Eventually, we get to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, in which basically the producer of that show said, if you took everything opposite of what TV does today, you have Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which is low production value, simple sets, and unlikely star, because Fred Rogers is the unlikely star in the world. Because here is a guy who genuinely cares for children. I mean, literally, they have a day in here, they show the footage of this, in which children actually get to meet Mr. Rogers. It was like block after block of children wanting to meet this man, for he understood every single one of these kids, and they understood they have very deep feelings. And like early on in the television run of Mr. Rogers, he did an allegory for Vietnam War by having King Friday build up the wall, which, quite frankly, I did not know that, because if anyone was building up a wall, just say, hey, look, it's a wall. And so he brought on this black cop played by Francois Clemens. Sir Clemens is his name. He was brought on, and I guess in one scene they have him, like dipping his feet in a pool of Mr. Rogers, because quite frankly back at that time it was still, segregation was still happening. It was the unlikely hero of saving PBS, because quite frankly Nixon wanted to cut PBS funding, and he stepped in and said, hey look, I believe children need all this money. And then for a brief time he stepped away from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and tried to focus on adults. But quite frankly, here's the thing, does anybody really remember that stuff we did with adults? No. He also tried to address the Challenger explosion, and he did it in such a way that makes you feel like, yes, the world is going to be okay. And then, when he came back in 1979, because he stepped away for 3 years, he decided to do a series of specials because, quite frankly, as his son said, he enjoyed being on TV, but he hated what he saw on TV, which is like, yes, most people themselves would probably think of themselves that they wanted to greatly affect children's minds. That yes, most of what you see on TV, particularly for children these days, yeah, that's not very good. I think also later in life, he sort of became King Friday. But here's the thing about Fred Rogers, he never proselytized, he never used his religion to any great advantage, just tried to help these kids understand that there is a better tomorrow, you are a sense of self, you are worthy of being alive. One of the interesting things about this documentary is that one of the guys here says, yeah, I believe there are a whole lot of Mr. Rogers out there. I really would like to see them, because quite frankly, please be counted. Bill Cosby, for a long time we thought Bill Cosby was America's dad. Yeah, and then we turned out he was a massive jerk and rapist and whatever else. We live in a time that is so divisive. I wish Mr. Rogers could come back from the grave and basically say, howdy kids, it's gonna be alright. We're gonna get through the divisive times, and we're gonna come out of it on the other end. Now, Mr. Rogers always inspired a host of parodies, including the Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood with Eddie Murphy. And Mr. Rogers thought it was all in good jest, although when people started attacking his philosophy, that's when he really had an issue with it. I mean, later in life, conservatives, particularly on Fox News, attacked him for saying that you are all entitled to something. No, that's not what Mr. Rogers really wanted. He just wanted to say to kids, you're worthy of being alive. Or came back today, all of us would just simply give him a big hug and say, thank you, neighbor. Again, he also briefly came out of retirement to address the September 11th attacks. And he was, again, reluctant to do that because he didn't know how he wanted to address that. He also, for some really weird reason, was into numerology. And he claimed he weighed 143 for the rest of his life. Because 1 is I, 4 is love, and 3 is you. So in the end, folks, Won't You Be My Neighbor, to me, is super awesome, folks. Because quite frankly, I just sat there in amazement and wonder of a man that, quite frankly, where are these people who claim to be so pure with children, or so pure in energy and so pure in heart these days? So, folks, Won't You Be My Neighbor? What did you think about it? Did you happen to like this? What's your favorite Mr. Rogers moment? As always, folks, like, comment, subscribe, and enrich yourself with knowledge. I'll see you next time, folks. Yes.